So the second piece that I want to show you are these three plates. And they all are inscribed with passages that the students particularly liked from a short course that we did through adult education here in University College Cork and the Prison Education Unit, which was 10 masterpieces of prison literature. So taking the idea of the prison into the prison and asking the people who were the experts in the field what they thought about some of the implications of these stories about prison. And we began, it was a whistle-stop tour through 10 masterworks of predominantly Western prison literature. So we began with Boethius, who was a Roman writer, and we ended with Nelson Mandela. And along the way we took in Martin Luther King, we spoke about Gandhi, we also talked about local Irish examples such as Frank O'Connor. He has a short story called The Guests of the Nation, which is also about confinement and imprisonment during the Irish War of Independence in the 1920s. And because the topic resonated with the students, because it was about themes that they were particularly interested in and familiar with, we got a great conversation going. And then an artist was invited to come in, Mary Timmins, and she worked as part of the visual arts scheme in prison, which is run by the Arts Council. It gives artists a grant of money, up to €2,500, to work for 10 days on site with students. So Mary sat in the class, we had the conversations, and so I would do this on a Monday afternoon, and then for the rest of the week they would work with Mary in crafting ideas that emerged from the conversations. So that's how we ran and opened the space. Also, from the moment we began our conversation, I said to them, you are students of University College Cork. And I took the strategic plans idea of the university in community, of community, and for community as my mantra. And I used this as a way of creating an open space. Creating space that was safe, that they could express their opinion without any judgment. And secondly, a space of agency. Because the one thing that prison takes away is your ability, your agency, your freedom. This is also what Foucault identifies as the main regulation system of the prison. Both institutionally and bodily, it takes away freedom. So it was to reclaim this idea of agency through freedom. Well, I just want to use two examples. This is an image of our president, Professor Patrick O'Shea, invited into the education unit to present the certificates of attendance to the students. So again, this is very important for them to see that they are being acknowledged by the hierarchy within the university and also within the prison system, because the governor of the prison system was there as well as the teachers. And behind him you can see the plates that I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to use two examples. So the first is a student response to The Nature of Justice by an American philosopher, writer, Henry David Thoreau. It's a book called On Civil Disobedience. It's a very important book. It's a book that influenced Mohandas K. Gandhi. It's a book that influenced Noam Chomsky. It is a book written about in Norman Mailer's The Armies of the Night, which talk about clashes with the government forces in Washington during 1967. So it is, within the Western tradition, a very important book because it asks the fundamental question. Should you obey all laws, or are there some unjust laws that you shouldn't obey, and therefore in conscience do you have a right to absent? This is a very provocative question, even in the West. It's a very provocative question. But it is a question because it was so provocative that the students absolutely loved. we had a great conversation about it, and this is just one example of one student's response. So he takes as his influence, if it is of such a nature that it requires you to be the agent of injustice to another, then I say break the law. This is a sentence from Thoreau. But what he does, and the whole Timmins series, because it does work very well as a series, is to take a page which is an ephemeral thing, a piece of paper, and to make it permanent by making it into a piece of ceramic. I think it's really interesting because what it does is it is a reflection on the nature of ideas. The permanence of ideas is not in their ephemerality, but rather in how they influence other writers, how the ideas are transmitted through time and across culture. And the second image that I have for you is taken from the first writer, a man called Boethus. Boethus is very famous because of his Wheel of Fortune. He asks the question, if everything is taken away from you and you just have yourself, then, what do you do? Boethus had been a very successful courtier in the Roman court during the late Roman Empire, and he had committed some misdemeanor. He had lost his power, lost his position, lost his status, ended up in prison. And now he writes a reflection in which Lady Philosophy comes to him. She becomes a metaphor of this ongoing reflection within confinement. And what we're trying to do here is to open a way, a path for the students to think that even though they are confined within a space, that they are not determined by it. Their confinement does not determine who they are, and they can think differently about their situation. So Boethus becomes a conversation partner for them in thinking, how can I think differently? As you can see, the key to understanding the passage is the capital. So the B becomes the key that opens who the writer is, and then the passage itself. So from the consolation of philosophy, it is because you don't know the end and the purpose of things that you think the wicked and the criminal have power and happiness. So this student has taken that one idea, and this has resonated with them. So again, what we are trying to do through the artworks is promote resilience. Resilience within prison, but also, hopefully, as a pathway to progression. But what we are not doing is we are not determining how this resilience can be constructed. Rather, we are offering them strategies of thinking through a position. And the academic literature throughout the world has said that literature and philosophy and art are central within the educational experience within prison. Because what they do is remind students and inmates that they are people first, but they are also people within society. And in order to become rehabilitated to society, they also have to become rehabilitated to themselves. And so I think this is a central message that emerges from these works. I'm just ending with a rubric, because the rubric, again, is based on Project Zero. And it is something that we're going to be speaking about after the break, in which we think about the levels of looking. So you have a literal level whereby, you can take a caption and you know what the work is. Or the analytical, or the contextual or critical, where you can go to a book and it will tell you how to look at the book. But what we are really interested in is the descriptive. The descriptive, which is looking at the work and interpreting the meaning yourself. And in that sense, you are linking your memory, your experience, your life story with the story of the work. And if it resonates for you, it is because of this descriptive level. Interesting enough, the descriptive is often the thing that is silenced within academic discourse this is something that students often coming into a discourse find difficult. To actually say what the work means to them personally. So here we have an opportunity to reclaim what does voice and agency mean to you as a student. If we work on that notion of voice and agency with this community, they also have something to teach us when we bring back that question of voice and agency back into the university community. And so, I want to end by saying that it returns us to Foucault's idea of the prison information movement, which is that prison should be a permeable membrane within society, that it is not a place just to send people away, but we can also learn from educational units within prison. Because, as Foucault reminds us, all of us are just a hair's breadth from transgressing the law to some degree. And so, prisoners are not others, they are us. And if we want a functioning, good society, then we have to create spaces to allow that integration and reintegration to be meaningful for inmates who will themselves hopefully become fully engaged members of society. Thank you.